Barbecue Central radio show will air live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Ho, ho.
Barbecue Central
Ho,
radio
ho,
show will
ho.
air live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Barbecue Central radio show will air live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Barbecue Central radio show will air live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Barbecue Central radio show will air live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh, should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
All right, good evening, and welcome to the really big Barbecue Central show. This is the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. What did I miss? I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Hold on, let me start again. Welcome to the Barbecue Central show. I'm all jacked up. I gotta start again.
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh, should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
All right, good evening, and welcome to the really big Barbecue Central show. This is the show that talks about all things important in the world of barbecue and grilling, broadcasting live and direct from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. It is the barbecue capital of the North Coast. More in the last week and a half than ever, I might add. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening. If you want to jump in on the show tonight, more than happy to have you. It's a phone call, 216-220-0966. You can also email the show, greg@thebbqcentralshow.com. Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you didn't get the newsletter. Coming up in about 13 minutes from now, today marked the official day, as the kids say, dropped. The book dropped. You know her, you love her, maybe some of you don't. That would be the minority. She's on television, she's on internet radio shows, she's on regular radio shows, she's hosting her own TV show, writing her own books, blazing across this barbecue country/world of ours in quite an impressive way right now. And over the last year or two, that everybody has been able to really have visibility on her. We're going to talk about the new book. Here it is right here. I got an advance copy. It's Diva Q's Barbecue. Life's Too Short for Bad Barbecue. There's the back of the book right there. That's Danielle, if you've never seen her before. 195 recipes for cooking with family, friends, and fire. We're going to be talking about all that. And then we're going to get deep. Oh, see, I did my color again. Hold on. There we go. Let me get back to normal. So Danielle Bennett will be coming up in about 11 minutes, 9:14. And she has assured me that if we would carry over into the 9:35, which I'm going to just make a line guess and say that's probably going to happen. We're just going to chat it up. We're going to talk. We're going to delve into the book. We're going to talk about the process, the promotion, expectations, both from her, what her expectations are, where she's holding herself accountable, and then where the business partners at. What do they want? What are their benchmarks of success? What was it like being on QVC? What's the last year been like? If you follow her on Facebook, she put out a great thank you to all of her supporters and mentioned specifically that the last 12 and 13 months are the most difficult of her life. So we're going to delve into that too. Maybe she doesn't know about that. We're going to delve into that too. It's going to be the Howard Stern of barbecue interviews tonight, you know? Nothing salacious, of course. So that's going to be your first hour. Danielle Bennett coming up here in just a bit. Then we'll move on to the second hour. Had him 2 weeks ago, and then I forget what happened. I think I had to cancel the show for some reason, which I don't remember why that was. Maybe it was an internet thing. Maybe it was a work thing that I couldn't get out of, which rarely happens for me. You know, for Chad, who precedes this show, I mean, it's like he's live once a month. That's fine. That's what works for him. I hate that. If I miss more than 2 shows in a year, I'm ready to jump off the 480 bridge. So I was able to rebook him. He is, I believe, a co-founder, if not the man, when it comes to the Steak Cook-Off Association. It's growing in popularity year after year, event after event. There was a huge Steak Cook-Off event. There were huge Steak Cook-Off events this past weekend to the tune of 4 of them across the country. So we'll do a quick recap on those. If you're not familiar with SCA, we'll talk about the inception of that whole organizing body, what it's all about, how you can be a steak cook, how you can try your hand at that versus maybe getting into the competition barbecue scene, whatever. Brett Gallaway will be joining me to talk about that. And then at 10:35, one of the legendary pitmasters that are still in teams that are still out there doing it at a very high competitive level, so much so that this past weekend in Springfield, Missouri, I think, they were able to notch their 75th grand championship of their career. The pitmaster of QUAU, Mike Wozniak, will be joining me. And it's going to be kind of a fun segment with Mike. You know, we'll talk about 75, what it means to the team, both him and Beth. And then we'll kind of do a retrospective. What was it like when you started? How about 7, 8, 9 years after you start? How about now? How do you look at from when you started? How does it differ from when you started to what you're doing now? It wouldn't surprise me at all if Mike said, you know, aside from a few key things that you just can't not do anymore, we're pretty much running along the same lines. Now, that would surprise me from a number of other people if that was the case, but Mike just kind of strikes me, and I've had him on the show a number of times over the years. He strikes me as that guy that if it doesn't have to change and it's not giving you bad results or costing you a shot at winning a GC or an RGC, why change, right? So looking forward to that conversation with Mike Wozniak at 10:35. Danielle Bennett coming up shortly. Brett Gallaway, SCA Talk, 10:14. Mike Wozniak, QUAU, 10:35. 216-220-0966. The email, greg@thebbqcentralshow.com. Let everybody know the Facebook. Let everybody know via the Facebook or the Twitter that the show is on. Send them to my website for audio, thebbqcentralshow.com. Send them to outdoorcookingchannel.com/watch-now for the video syndication portion of this. If you have Roku or IP television, search the App Store for Outdoor Cooking Channel. Check that out. You can watch it right from your TV. Streams live on YouTube, as we all know, from last week with my parents calling in. And by the way, I did see somebody post on YouTube, and I just want to make sure I point out this because, I'm very myopic in how I look and how I think people think, which is like me. When I do the whole thing with my parents, first of all, my parents don't sound like that, right? I mean, they don't. They don't. You've heard my mom on the show a number of times. You've heard my dad on the show a couple times. They don't sound like that. It's my tribute, homage, my give back to a guy who I feel, in the talk show sense, has been very influential for me. Maybe you don't hear a lot of him and me, but I listen to him and how he speaks and how he interviews. And maybe after I say it, maybe you do find a little bit about him. But The Voices is kind of a payback or a tribute to the king of all media, Howard Stern. Somebody dropped that in a comment on YouTube. Howard Stern called one of his parents back. I get it. So while The Voices are like an imitation of what he's doing with his parents, the material is all mine. Lest anybody think the material is all mine. Howard has never done a bit where his parents call in talking about how they can't get his son, who is doing a show from the basement, on YouTube. The comedy is mine. The Voices are a tribute back. So, if you think I'm ripping him off, I'm not. I'll own up to it like in a heartbeat. It's just a tribute to him. I mean, you're damn right I wish my parents sounded like that. Oh, that would be the best. Then I wouldn't have to sit there with a bullhorn and talk into the microphone like they're on telephone. Give me a break. My parents wish they sounded like that, for crying out loud. I have, in as many weeks, times 3, breaking news.
A Barbecue Central Show exclusive news update.
It's Greg Rempe at the breaking news desk here in Cleveland, Ohio, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city. As of last Thursday, when the first one came out, the second Tuesday of the month, guest on this show, the creator of Amazing Ribs, and I have put a deal together for a 90-day trial for me to do exclusive content via the Pit Club at AmazingRibs.com. So we've put together a Pitcast, that's the name of the show, at AmazingRibs.com that kind of mirrors the idea of the barbecue roundup, but we've made it a little bit more meathead-centric. So if you want to see what that's all about, you have to become a member of the Pit Club. It's $25 for the year, so it's like nothing, right? But you get to hear exclusive content made for AmazingRibs.com by me. So if you like me, you're not a member of the Pit Club already, head on over to AmazingRibs.com and sign up. Again, $25 for the year. It's not $25 a month, $25 for the year. And check out the Pitcast. I got my own forum and everything. Episode 2 coming out Thursday. So look forward to that. Very happy to be in cahoots with Meathead Gold. AmazingRibs.com. Look, if you didn't know already, Big Poppa Smokers is the one-stop online shop for anyone interested in barbecue. The #1 dealer of Mac pellet grills in the world, Big Poppa Smokers features a wide selection of American-made grills and smokers, such as the Old Hickory Ace BP, the Gateway drum smoker, even a drum kit that gives you everything you need to make a world-class smoker out of a 55-gallon drum. Big Poppa's has made a name for itself in recent years by crafting an award-winning line of championship rubs. From flavors like Sweet Money to Happy Ending, they have had a hand in winning almost every major barbecue competition that takes place during the course of the year. And it's not just competition barbecue either. The rubs are so well known, they've been asked by a nationwide restaurant chain, BJ's Restaurant and Brew House, to have 4 of the 9 rubs featured on their permanent menu. BPS rubs are proven to be a great addition to anyone's pantry. They've also banded together with fellow California-based rub company Simply Marvelous Barbecue to form what has now become known as the West Coast Offense. Defying conventional wisdom, these 2 California-based rub makers have cornered the market on competitive barbecue and begun to redefine the flavor profile that competitive cooks from across the country have begun to aim for. Big Poppa's also features an online meat locker with top-quality meats from Snake River Farms shipped right to your door. The American Kobe beef, the Caribou pork, the Double R Ranch meats. Big Poppa's Meat Locker has something for every type of barbecue aficionado. Big Poppa's has also created a unique brand ambassador program called the BPS Elite Team, featuring 15 of the best competition cooks in the country working together to promote camaraderie, competition barbecue, and to benefit children's charities across the U.S. Keep in mind that Big Poppa Smokers has been able to do all of this With only, 5-6 years of being in the business, turning competition barbecue on its head, providing customers with the very best barbecue products, becoming a staple of a nationwide restaurant chain, and benefiting children's charities across the U.S. It's just the beginning for Big Poppa Smokers. Just the beginning. All right, we are back with Danielle Bennett, Diva Q. Out of the break, you're listening and watching the Barbecue Central show right here on the Barbecue Central radio network. Stick around, we'll be right back.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Radio Network studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the Barbecue Central show being brought to you by Sam's Club National Barbecue Tour. 31 cities. 500,000 in cash, eternal bragging rights if you win the whole damn thing. This coming weekend, the Sam's Club Tour rolling into Overland Park, Kansas for a local qualifying event. To keep up with the Sam's Tour, see where the next event will be, or to register your team to compete if there's spots left. Few, maybe. Visit kcbs.us/Sam's Tour. All right, my first guest tonight, a host of her own barbecue TV show. She is a competition barbecue pitmaster, and today was the first day that her new book was, as the kids say, dropped. Here to talk a bit about that, some other barbecue topics in the world of fire and hot cooking and all that good stuff. Pitmaster of Diva Q competition team, author of Diva Q's. Let's go ahead and welcome back Danielle Bennett to the show. Dee, what's up? How are you?
I'm good.
Well, I mean, where do we start, right? It's been a little bit since you've been on the last time, so I'm not going to ask you the lame, what you been doing since we talked the last time. As I mentioned in the open, the book is officially launched today. Pre-orders were incredibly strong for this one. I think I saw last week you were number one on the pre's. Today it's number one initial release on Amazon. I imagine the publisher and the other business parties involved in this effort have to be pretty jazzed up about where things are kind of sitting right now.
Well, I guess that I'm pretty stoked about the numbers that I'm seeing, and I won't give them all out. But we are actually the number one barbecue and grilling book, the number one release before the drop date today, a week before, which is huge. That's a huge accomplishment, apparently. This is all a new experience for me, so of course, I don't know what the expectations are. I don't know anything about it. But I think anytime you drop a book and it hasn't even released out to the public yet, and you're already the number one release, number one bestseller on Amazon, and that doesn't include the 6,000 copies we sold on QVC as well, that's pretty huge.
So I guess how does the deal come together? I forget if we talked about this the last time, kind of as you were in the process, but are you approached, or do you have the idea of the book and you go to a publisher and pitch? What's the deal there?
Well, what had happened is actually over the years, I've been asked many, many times to actually put a book out. I just kept pushing back and thinking it's not the right time. It didn't feel right. I didn't want to do it because of my own issues with knowing that the book would have to be 100% in my own words. You see, here's the thing. The vast majority of all cookbooks by bigger names out there that are being put out have ghostwriters. That's that secondary or third name that's on that book front. I knew that if I wrote a book, I would have to do it all myself because I don't want somebody to read a recipe and say, well, that's crap, that doesn't work, or that's just not reality. So the publishers were coming after me a few times, and from different publishing houses. I didn't want to do a self-published book. I also wanted to make sure that my name was aligned with the biggest there is in the business, and that's Random House. Random House is one of the largest producers of books in the world. They have an incredible in-house marketing team. And so for me, it wasn't just taking any old deal that came along. They approached me, asked to have a meeting with me through an introduction with Jennifer Bain from the Toronto Star's food department. And the ball just kind of kept rolling like that. You then have to still send in a proposal. And then you negotiate a contract based on what they think your viable numbers will be. And it kind of goes from there.
So you hit on a great term, viable numbers. You don't know them. You know that they're very reputable and they've put out 1 billion books and all. They don't know you aside from maybe what they've seen on the internet or on television. How is a viable number derived that everybody feels good about?
Well, I think one of the things they take a look at is your reach, your impressionable reach. One of the things is that I have, as anybody knows, a very active social media. I am the world's #1 most influential woman in barbecue, and I have the stats and the numbers to prove that. My Twitter, for example, my Twitter gets 15,000 followers. However, we reach anywhere from 400 to 500,000 unique impressions every single month. That's a huge number. They take a look at things like that. They take a look at the fact that, we had a successful TV show for 3 years. They take a look at the fact that you're on the Food Network or you're seen as an authority. And then it's a guessing game. I think they make educated guesses as to how many copies they think the book will sell. I think they make the best decision at that time. And of course, then there's the money involved, and I won't talk about money, but, you have to understand that these books take a lot of time to do, a lot of writing. And I wasn't willing to write a book for chump change. I was willing to write a book that got properly compensated in my world. I think that there comes a quality content when you are working on a project that's real and maybe not such a fly in the pants kind of individual small book. I wanted this to be a book that people would refer back to for many years. I wasn't looking for a book that somebody would just put on their shelf. I wanted to create a book that people would use over and over again, go back to, revisit, and with that comes a contract that's commensurate with it.
Danielle Bennett joining me here on the show. Diva Q, website divaq.ca. You're not going to give specifics on the money. Of course, I'm going to ask, but deflect as you will. But here's, I guess, a kind of a more high-level question. 15 years ago, book writing, completely different deal, right? Given the anticipation of your book, I imagine, back then you could have secured what some would consider like life-changing advance because books then are different than books now. So on this project, and you've alluded to it, I imagine you make out okay. And as others have told me on this show before that are well-known book writers, the book thing to some is more of a way to keep the brand out there and isn't necessarily like the big money grab that it used to be. What's your thought on that whole deal?
I completely agree. You don't write a book to make money. You write a book to open other doors to make money. I think that's a very, very astute statement. At the end of the day, the book is something that has already gone into multiple reprints. I'm very excited about that. This is day 1 of the launch. We are already into, I think, printing number 2.5, maybe almost 3. I'll find out by the end of this week. So at the end of the day, you have to take a look at what is this book going to do for me? And what do you want the book to do? Because if you just want to get your name out there and it's going to be cheap and it's going to be, kind of wishy-washy recipes, hey, that's your deal. For me, it was a combination of get my brand out there, be known as a reliable source for all things barbecue and grilling information, and keep the BBQ brand alive.
In regards to an advance, is there a certain number that you have to hit in like gross sales where once that number's triggered, there's like back end points or percentage of gross or you get an extra amount of money or something? Like how does a book compensation work after the advance?
Well, typically the book is divided into 3 components of payment. First of all, you receive an advance. That's upon book contract signing. That is to cover off, your time for that portion of the book. Then you have to submit a completed manuscript. You get another payment at that point. At the last day is the drop day, which is today, and you get your last payment until the book goes into reprints and or negotiable terms. Negotiable terms could be a lot of different things depending on your status, your much bigger names than me, can negotiate things like digital percentages and definitely back-end sales. So each contract is individual, but basically that's how it gets broken down into those 3 payments.
So best case scenario for you on the first book effort?
I'm in the middle of it right now, best case scenario.
Yeah, right. So in the end, are you hoping to be in a 7-figure range on this thing, or is it just somewhere in the 6 figures? What's the utopia here?
I won't comment on those numbers, but I will say the more reprints, the better in my life. Absolutely.
Danielle Bennett joining me here on the show, talking about the new book, Diva Q's. So talk to me about the writing process. If you're not going to tell me how much money you're making, let's talk about the writing process. Was it love, a labor of love, just labor? What's it like for you?
It's actually a combination of all those things. It's 195 recipes, which is double the size of most books. In addition to the 195 recipes, throughout the book, there are things. There's that book, yay!
There it is.
There's tips called Savvy, because I wanted a value-added book. And what I mean by that is that I didn't want somebody just to have just the recipes. Just the recipes is great. So as you can see, this book has a lot of content. It's a great book. I'm very proud of it. But we have things like these little Q Savvies. And the Q Savvies are little tips and tricks to almost give you, it's either another recipe or another version. So they're rather painful to write because, you forget a lot of things. I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years. There's a lot of different things I've done over the years. Most of the recipes I had some formation of already and or I've already made in my backyard. The other thing is that, you have to write the charts that are at the front. And I remember getting into an argument one day with one of the editors because, they wanted an absolute chart of time. And that's a really hard thing to do for me because being a barbecuer and a griller, it's done when it's done. And, you can't say to somebody, well, here's an absolute time frame because people are so used to reading absolute recipes that say, this roast will take 2.5 hours or whatever. Well, in barbecue, no, it doesn't work that way. There's so many different tangents and variables. So, I even put a disclaimer in the book, where, in all cases, use a digital thermometer. So, some of the writing process is absolutely painful. I remember one day whipping, and I mean whipping, the manuscript up against the wall, just out of absolute frustration, thinking this was the most painful thing I've ever gone through, because editors were asking 50 million questions that I thought were personally really obvious. But they were doing their great job. They were doing the job that they had to, and they were reading it from really fresh eyes, not making assumptions of any knowledge whatsoever in barbecue and grilling. And so that's why the book comes out as thorough as it does, because we tried to answer everybody's questions. And that's not easy because everybody has different barbecues, different grills, different, situations. So I remember that some of the book writing was extremely painful. I remember the day I submitted the manuscript, I think I drank half a bottle of whiskey just because I was so freaking happy it was done. I remember thinking at some points during the book, I'll never do this again. I remember about a month in going, this was the stupidest contract I'd ever agreed to. I remember being absolutely beside myself excited when I got the first copy of the book. Then, I was annoyed that some of the edits didn't get done. And it's an emotional roller coaster. But the biggest thing is I am so grateful, so incredibly grateful and blessed to have so much support from my barbecue family and friends. It has been just crazy overwhelming how many people have either written me today or in the last, specifically the last day or so, about they've seen the book, they love the book's content. And these are people that I admire in the barbecue world. These are people that I look up to that are inspirations to me. So to receive that kind of feedback today was pretty phenomenal.
Danielle Bennett joining me here on the show. Diva Q, the website divaq.ca. The book is available to buy right now today, first day, and she's come right here on this show to talk all about it. Danielle, within the past few weeks, I've got your book. I've seen Stephen Reichlin's book come out. I've seen the Grill Stock book come out. Meathead has a book coming out here shortly. With the arrival of, I guess, what many people would call the traditional grilling season, I can't imagine it's coincidence that all of these books are kind of coming out one right after another. You know, you're a business person. Is there any concern about timing, or do you know going up front that you're going to be front-loaded in the beginning of a grilling season with the associated books?
Well, I think the thing is that it's like you just said. This is the typical grilling and barbecue season. I think the quality of the content of each of the books will stand out on its own. There are books that you buy because they look pretty and they look nice on the shelf. There are books you buy because you think you're actually going to use them. I think that there's room in the barbecue pool for all of them. I mean, I own probably a good 40 or 50 cookbooks myself that are all in some way related to barbecue and or grilling. So I have no problem with all these great books coming out. I mean, certainly Meathead's book is going to be phenomenal. He is so scientific based, and Stephen Reichlin, of course, he is a considerable author of great talent that has been doing this for so many years. At the end of the day, I make food for real people who really want to cook and grill and be happy in their backyards. So I think there's room for all of us.
In the recipe process, from here's an idea to going to the store to actually getting it down on paper, what was the percentage of success versus, I can't use this is going to be scrapped out?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know if I have so much of a percentage of success. I will tell you this. When we shot the book, I spent $4,000 on groceries. And tests and trials ahead of time, probably a good $3,000 to $4,000 addition to that.
Wow.
Most of my recipes are successful. There's very few times where I don't have something successful that hits the grill. Because at the basics, you have to understand how acids work, how salt will work, how heat will work, how oxygen and flames and times and meat proteins. So once you get the basics down, it's really about the flavor profiles. I mean, once you figure out how to cook, a pizza on the grill, well, then it's a matter of ingredients. Once you figure out how to cook a brisket and or a steak, well, it's all the things you can do to it. So I think once you have that basis of knowledge, which I do possess, you kind of go from there and you just make things that you think taste great. Not everybody's going to like every recipe in the book, but they're going to find something they love because there are so many kick-ass recipes in there that things that I have made for parties or people have asked for them repeatedly. At the end of the day, I think this is anybody who's followed me on social media or even my Facebook. You know that I am one of those typical oversharers because I post my dinner pics almost every single day about what I'm eating because I cook all the time. So I think that I've had actually minimal failures, but a lot of adventures in food.
You can get it on Amazon.com right now. Is it going out into brick and mortar stores as well, or is it mostly like an online effort, or is it just going to be everywhere no matter what?
It's going to be everywhere. It's already at, it's already at Costco in Canada. I believe Sam's Club is coming over the next few days. I know that Stone Barbecue Supply up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania got their order. I know that TraegerGrills.com is already selling their copies. The book is available to anyone, and it's out there.
Do you have another book already, like in the shoot? Is it, when you signed the first book, was it contingent on like a multiple book offering, or did it have to see how the first one went in order to start going to 2 to 3 to 4?
Well, we have the options available for future books, and yes, absolutely, I'm already working on them. I don't have signed deals yet. I'm not gonna lie about that. I'm pretty darn sure though they're pretty happy with my numbers right now. I'll tell you that. We're putting out a solid book full of great recipes that people are loving and enjoying. It's funny that I see some of my friends and family making comments and like, oh my gosh, that's the recipe you always used to make for football, for the Super Bowl, or oh my gosh, that's your Christmas Eve, recipe for your meatball tray, or, there's the meat cake you made for that birthday party. So, I mean, these are tried and true recipes already, and I'm looking forward to sharing even more of them in the future.
Would another book be, is it always going to be live fire with you, or will you venture off into some uncharted waters that we're not familiar or we don't associate with you and the brand?
Well, I think at the end of the day, I don't like to put limits on myself, period. I follow the two hashtags of life, want more and unstoppable. I mean, I even got, unstoppable tattooed on my arm. I don't like putting limits on myself at all in any case. If anything, I've proven that you can do anything you set your mind to as long as you work hard enough and you're focused enough. And, passion is great and passion is wonderful, but passion doesn't work that great unless you're working hard too. So I wouldn't put any limits on what I'm capable of in the future. You just never know what'll happen.
Danielle Bennett joining me here on the show. Dee, can I hold you over for another segment and we'll continue the talks?
Sure, absolutely.
All right. Stand by with more talking with Danielle Bennett, Diva Q. You know her. DivaQ.ca, her website. And the book is out, Diva Q's. Go to Amazon.com. Go to anywhere that sells books. It's out. Let me talk to you for a few minutes about the longest-running sponsor of the show, located in Warminster, Pennsylvania, the good folks over at the BBQ Guru. If you've been thinking about automatic pit temperature control technology for your cooker, stop here. They created this technology. Why are you going to buy it from anybody else? I don't know. If you're not familiar with how they work, imagine a product that allows you to set a pit temperature in one set, keeps it running throughout the cook at that temperature. Sound too good to be true? It's not. You can take advantage of this technology right today because, look, maybe you're a busy working professional like me, or you're constantly on the run with the kids doing errands, and you just don't have the time to set around and tend those pit temperatures. I get it. The Guru allows you to set a pit temp, and it keeps it running all the way through the cook. So now you can throw on a couple slabs of ribs or a pork butt or a brisket or all of that, set the temp, and boom. You're free to go, do whatever you need to do. The Guru has your back. Number of different models to choose from. If you're a big gadget person or you don't like to get out of bed in the middle of the night, attach your smart device to the CyberQ Wi-Fi and monitor the temperature of your pit from your phone or your computer or your tablet or whatever. And if you're cooking too fast or too slow, you can actually make pit adjustments right there. And you can monitor the internal temperature of the meats that you have cooking. CyberQ Wi-Fi actually has the potential of controlling 2 pits at once. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, you have Party Q, about $149 or so. Self-contained, goes from a bullet-style cooker to a kettle-style cooker to a ceramic-style cooker, runs on AA batteries. It's like the cruise control for your pit. Doesn't get any easier. It's 5-degree increments. Set it and forget it, to coin a phrase. Here's what you want to do. Go to the BBQ Guru's website, thebbqguru.com. Check out their products. And if you have any questions about what to order, don't guess. Call them. Ask for a sales associate. They will make sure you're outfitted with exactly what you need to get you up and running right out of the box. Again, the website, thebbqguru.com, and the number is 800-288-GURU. The BBQ Guru continues to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology. We are back with more Diva Q talk right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Get in the smoke. Call 877-448-0433 to get on the air. Now, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
This portion of the show being brought to you by Green Mountain Grills, manufacturers of some of the best pellet cookers out there on the market today. If you're looking for a big cooker to house a lot of food, they got one for you. How about something medium-sized? Got a kind of a medium-sized family? They got one. How about small for tailgates or camping or whatever? They got you covered there, too. Also, pellets to fire those cookers. GreenMountainGrills.com is their website. Check them out. I just used my Green Mountain Grill to cook a bunch of chicken wings over the weekend. I love it. You could love yours, too. Visit the website, GreenMountainGrills.com. All right, we're talking with Danielle Bennett, Diva Q, about the new book, Diva Q's. It's out. Like, what else you want to tell me about that book? Like, what's your biggest, darkest secret that you haven't told anybody yet about the book?
I think I've told just about everybody anything about the book. I think it's full of delicious goodness. I think it's for people who actually know how to cook. I think if you're going to write a book, you should actually know how to barbecue and grill. I've seen a lot of bull crap books come out in the last couple of years, and I'll call them that because These are people that never cook. They don't even like food in the best of days. And they're putting out these books, and I'm like, who's buying this crap? So for me, it's important that it's an authentic, real book of food that actually people will enjoy.
Danielle, you had mentioned in the thank you that you put out on Facebook a little bit ago that the last 13, 14 months have been some of the most difficult times. And, for the people that don't follow you, I guess, I follow it. I'm a little closer than maybe some others are. But originally, DivaQ.ca, Canada, right? So you were up in Canada. I remember when you got into barbecue, it was a whole different scene. So about a year ago or so, you leave Canada. You go through divorce. Yeah. You have 3 kids. And
I have 3 kids. And ex-husband. Let me make that very clear.
And Vlad. Hi to Vlad. But it's not like you're moving down the street or around the block. I mean, you are down to Florida, which is like kind of far. So
the people don't understand that my parents had a place here in Florida for like 25, 30 years. So Florida was like second home to me. There were multiples of reasons I ended up coming here. But that's actually one of the reasons why too. So
you are, for as long as I've known you, you have had the mantra in some form or fashion of, I'm going to make it in barbecue. This is my deal. This is my passion. I'm working it every day. Balls to the wall, 100%.
Yeah.
Does being balls to the wall 100% in some way cost you the marriage portion of where you were at that point?
Well, the thing is, I'm actually not willing to talk about my marriage, my former marriage, and there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, it's out of respect to my children. Secondly, it is respect to my ex. One of the things is that I think it's an extremely poor taste when people disparage their ex publicly. Because at the end of the day, that is my father's children. He is a good man, and they will always have someone to look up to. So I will say that anytime you enter a very passionate career, there are challenges. But I am not about to put my marriage or my former marriage on public notice, other than to say that my children live in Canada. I fly them in regularly. I fly up there regularly. I talk to them multiples of times every day. I'm very grateful for technology and Skype. And the fact that, I have these great conversations. And also, I think the fact is, if I was a guy that did it, nobody would question it. But
really? You think there's a sexist double standard there?
Absolutely, because anytime a man leaves a marriage, they're never questioned, ever, not ever. But it's no different in barbecue. It's so funny is that I can be in a store and I'm, somebody will ask me a question. And I'm asking a question about the thickness of the metal or how the oxygen works, and a service person will look at me like I've got 2 heads and ignore me. So it's a double standard, and we're still working on those barriers, and that's okay. It'll get there eventually.
All right, so let me ask this question.
Yep.
Because now I'm seeing it in the chat room. Do you think?
I can't see the chat room. I'm trying to see the chat room.
That's all fine. I'm just going to ask you the question, and you'll answer it honestly. Do you think that if you were, I can't even come up with a good comparison here. Do you think that I would have asked a man the same question that I just asked you? Is that unfair?
I think that's pretty accurate. Yeah. I think that most times that men, when they end their marriages, it is what it is, and that it's all what it all is. They move for their careers, and things unfortunately sometimes have to change, or their passion change, and they're not typically questioned about it. But at the end of the day, I'm a female who has their ex, as the primary caregiver. So yeah, I'm a little unusual still in the eyes of most people.
But do you think that I wouldn't have not asked a man that?
Oh, Craig, you would have asked anyways, always, anybody. You have always asked 5 million questions. But I think in the general public, yeah, it's pretty typical.
All right, so let me ask you this. Given the success of the day and everything that's happened, is there a little bit of you that is still like, man, I would love to have everybody around me just for a little bit of celebration, or because of that technology that you just mentioned, it almost doesn't matter. There are no borders and there almost is no distance.
Well, I think that there's still those moments, where absolutely, I would have loved to see my kids today. But I'm not going to pull them out of school until, I'm going to get them in like 2 weeks. So yeah, there's those moments that where you want to give them a hug or whatever, and then there's moments where my daughter Ella, who is just so kick-ass, as is Gabe and Lexi, will, like today. I mean, we were literally just on Skype, a little while ago, and she'll turn to me and say, "Mom, I am so proud of you. You rocked it out." And that, to me, my kids are proud of me. At the end of the day, my kids are proud of me for working hard and trying to have a career in something that is not typical for a female, and certainly not typical for a Canadian. My kids are proud of me. I've got a tight circle of friends. My squad's pretty close. I don't give a rat's ass what anybody else thinks at that point. I work hard. Anybody who knows me, it knows how hard I work. And the opinions of those people who are just out to disparage me don't matter.
Your kids know you, and your kids know you've been a great model of putting your mind to something and achieving and achieving and achieving. And it's not, certainly there's luck with anything you do, but by and large, it's passion and hard work, as you said. And I know many experts across many different businesses and market segments that will say, hey, without the hard work, you can't just expect something to fall in your lap. So yeah. You're showing them this. Do they understand, who you are, and do their friends like, hey man, your mom's Diva Q, and that's awesome. Like, do they kind of understand that whole celebrity aspect of it?
Yeah, they do. They've gotten it because we've been in airports before together, and that's happened. We've been sitting down at dinner, and it's happened. We've been in a grocery store, and it's happened. My daughter is like, I haven't seen your book at Costco yet. I'm going to check it out next week with Dad. All right, great. And certainly, there is a level of respect there, even from their dad. They're, when they're up and doing that, they went to Mexico with him just a little while ago, and we're chatting every day on thank God for technology, once again on Skype every day, and their dad's sending me pictures of saying, hey, here's what the kids are doing today, and I'm all proud of them, and so it's a lot of communication back and forth so that they know what's going on in my life, and I know what's going on in their life, and I know at all times what they're doing, and they know exactly what their mom is doing. Ella checked out, Amazon today and said, holy crap, you did it again, Mom. You're like #1 bestseller. That's awesome. I'm so proud of you. Come on, there's nothing better than your kids, when your kids tell you that they are proud of you. Nothing's better than that. But you know what? I think that there is, I know a lot of people were asking me about the name change. There was a lot of discourse and discussion about that. I got some really lovely hate mail. That was fun. It's I've got really broad shoulders, and there are days it gets to me, but the vast majority it doesn't. I have nothing left to prove to any of these guys. So,
what is anybody writing about whether you have Domovsky or Bennett as a last name? Like, where does that weigh into anybody else's life but yours and Vlad's?
Exactly. So at the end of the day, one of the things I've always laughed, I'm like, I don't think that has anything to do with my barbecuing skill set. So I don't really care what you think. I'm in a wonderful, amazing relationship with someone who I love with all my heart. I only wish the best for everybody that in my life. At the end of the day, I say to my kids, be kinder than you need to be, because people need a lot more of that. There's enough bullshit and crap in the world that I don't need to be a part of. Put your nose to the grindstone, work hard, give your best effort every day, and hopefully, sometimes the stars line up and things are a success.
Do you think that you're kind of like a relationship person? You were married a long time, you're in a relationship now. Could you have seen yourself, in between, where you just were like, hey, it's just going to be me, I have some friends hanging on, but I'm just going to go full bore? Or do you like to have somebody around you to be able to share stuff with?
I actually didn't think I was going to be in a relationship for quite a while. And I, went out on a blind coffee date. Ended up being the best thing in my life ever. So you know what? I think you just need to be open to whatever life throws at you, because, there's been a lot of stuff in this last year that I did not expect to happen. There are a lot of opportunities personally and professionally that I didn't expect to happen. At the end of the day, It is your life to live. We're not on a practice run. It's not a trial run. So, in all honesty, who cares what anybody else thinks? It's your life. I don't think you need to play by anybody else's rules but your own. As long as you're a kind person, you're thoughtful and considerate of your friends and your squad, who the hell cares about what anybody else thinks?
The book is out. What's going on with the TV show?
TV show right now is not in existence, unfortunately. Which is really sad because we were so well rated. And, it's a funny thing with TV. We had this incredibly high rated TV show, and the originating network decided to go with a completely different digital format. And unfortunately, they went to an all sci-fi / paranormal network. So we weren't canceled, but they just didn't have a home for us and about, I don't know, I think it was like 30, 40 other programs. So somebody else could come and pick Diva Q's, barbecue crawl up in the future. It hasn't been canceled. There's still a possibility of that. This year I wasn't too concerned with it. With the book and everything else going on, I was actually kind of grateful not to have to go out for 9-10 weeks and film. I did a Food Network judging segment for the Kids QUAU Championship, which I think is pretty awesome. I love doing that. There's a couple other opportunities that are coming down the pipe that I can't talk about right now. And, I don't think it's the last you'll see of me on TV. How about that?
Good enough for me. I mean, I would imagine just because one network decides to go completely different, that doesn't make you available. If the show does that well, I mean, somebody's got to pick it up down the line, I would imagine. But we both know that guy, John Marcus, who's seen a lot of barbecue television and has had, one story after another of, hey, it's a success. Hey, we're not on anymore. I'm not a part of it. I'm back into it. I mean, it just seems to be quite a whole different niche that if you're not used to it, it's hard to put your head around, I guess.
Yeah, TV's a really weird little world, and I don't play the game very well because I don't bullshit very well. As you know, Greg, we have been friends for many, many years. I call it like I see it, and I don't kiss a lot of people's asses either, and so that's not that good for TV. I don't believe that I need to kiss somebody's ass if I'm already working hard and applying myself. So I don't play the game very well, and at the end of the day, I could sleep at night. I'm good with that.
Once again, you did say, as far as the Food Network's Kid QUAU Championship,
yep,
you're going to be a judge on that.
Yeah, I got to the opportunity to be a judge on one of their episodes. I was so inspired by the kids that were cooking on that show. Gosh, our barbecue future is looking bright if these kids keep going. They are just amazing, beautiful little people that could outcook most of us.
Is this the generation, I think whatever the millennials are, and they get bashed quite a bit about being pretty non-self-sufficient, and if mom or dad or whoever wasn't there to create meals for them, they would probably waste away to nothing. Is this a generation that picks it back up and is going to be a little bit more domesticated when it comes to the cooking?
I think that's a great commentary. I mean, here's the thing. We have everybody in the restaurants, the millennials, and they're taking pictures of 50 million things, and they stand in lineups for barbecue joints, and they do a lot of stuff, but they don't actually cook anything. That's the irony of it all. They're the mass communicators on Instagram and all of our social network feeds, Snapchat, Twitter, but they don't cook a lot. And it's so funny because I was thinking that when we were filming the Kids QUAU Championship, I'm like, I hope this generation picks it back up. I'm hopeful for it. I think one of the things one of the biggest problems, though, in all honesty, Greg, is the fact that our schools aren't teaching any basic cooking skills or home economics whatsoever. Kids are coming out these days, they don't even know how to sew a button on. They have no idea even how to boil an egg properly. So I think it's got to go back to the schools and get those basic home economics programs and shop and woodworking back into schools, because we're teaching our kids how to memorize answers, not actually learn anything these days. And so I know I'm on a bit of a soapbox and I'm taking it in a little bit of a direction, but it is such an annoyance to me to see these kids these days. And I know a lot of them. I mean, between myself and my boyfriend, we have 6 children between the two of us. It's like the Brady Bunch. And, some of our kids know how to cook and some of our kids don't know how to cook. And it's ridiculous to me. They don't even know how to shop for groceries. So I think that I'm really hopeful that maybe the future politicians and educators that make those decisions will, hopefully decide that our children are worth investing in and for some actual practical education. Not this bull crap, weird ass math they're learning and everything else they're doing right now. And give them some cooking skills again and some real life skills so that we have a generation that's not just snapping pictures of food, but actually making it.
Yeah, it's weird to be taking pictures of all the food that you are not making. Very weird. Danielle Bennett joining me here on the show. Diva Q, the website divaq.ca. The book is out. It is called Diva Q's. It's 195 recipes. Wow, are you kidding me? So, again, this is a book that you want to go through and read, but you can go back as a reference piece, back time and time again, year after year.
There's a lot of great libation recipes from many, many, many barbecue teams, just an FYI. I figured a lot of my friends could contribute a lot of libations.
Yeah, I think you have experts abound when it comes to that. Danielle, really appreciate the time tonight. Really appreciate the candor and the honesty, and continued success. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
You got it. There she is. Yeah, give me a break. That's the one I wanted. Danielle Bennett. Diva Q, divaq.ca is the website. Amazon.com for the books. Any major retailers that are out there. You heard it from her. It's everywhere. Everywhere. Do you know where a book is sold? It's probably right there. All right, folks, let me talk to you about the Chops Power Injector System. The 2016 Barbecue Tool of the Year, the 2015 Barbecue Tool of the Year, 2 years in a row. Look, sometimes products are out, a lot of hubbub, they win an award, and then like a flash, boom, they're gone, right? The Chops Power Injector System has legitimized itself as a real tool. Something that you are going to want to get, period. I was going to say get with, but just get it. BARBEQUE, barbecuekansascity.com. If you're somebody that is continuing to inject your briskets and your pork butts and your chickens or whatever, well, maybe chickens you can still do with a single needle. But the big stuff, why are you suffering with incredible amount of inefficiency? One needle. With the Chops Power Injector System, you got 3 different kinds to choose from. The half gallon, the full gallon, or the electric. Now, the half and full gallons are holding tanks under pressure. 4 needles. You can do 10 pork butts in the time that's going to take you to do 1, right? And the first time you use it, you're going to be like, there's no way I was using 1 needle for this long after Rempe had been talking about Chops Power Injector System. It was the first thing that I said when I got mine. Now, if you're a big dog in the restaurant game, huge catering, Chops Full Power Injector System is for you. It is electric. It's got a 3.5-foot pickup tube instead of a holding tank, so you can use it from a couple ounces all the way to a 55-gallon drum. They got all the accessories you need. They're handmade in Kansas City, Missouri. You can infuse alcohol in them if you want as well. Chops Power Injector System gives your barbecue power. Again, the website, BARBEQUE, that's BARBEQUE, Dan Uladol and the gang over there. Again, the Barbecue Tool of the Year, NBBQA, twice in as many years, 2015, 2016. Go get yourself one right now. $100 to start. You got $100 to save time. The amount of time it's going to save you, well over $100. Your time is worth more than you think it is. Trust me. All right, we're back to wrap up the first hour right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, welcome back. 216-220-0966. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Barbecue food for you, saying good interview. Sylvie Curry, always enjoy interviews with Danielle. She has a very vibrant personality. Guest 72, thanks, Greg. Great interview with Danielle. Thank you. Just some of the instant feedback, in case you were wondering. I do appreciate her candor and openness, of course. I guess I tend to agree. Again, when I go back to myopic state of everybody should think like me, if a, and again, I can't come up with an equal comparison because I don't know anybody like I know Danielle coming from, we kind of were in barbecue together many, many, many years ago. It's funny how time flies. But to see her come from where she started to where we're at now, I don't have an equal comparison to that. I don't have a career chart. Now, if Danielle was Dan, and that was his path that he took, I'm asking the same questions. I am. But I guess I can see from a traditional standpoint where, you know, she leaves, it's a big deal. Or the marriage dissolves, and it's a big deal because she's a woman and she's the face. And if it's a man, double standard. I get it. That doesn't mean I'm not going to ask, man or not. Well, I guess that would be a woman. All right, I totally blew through the outro there, so stick around. We'll reload for the second hour.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me!
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 54 wieners. But listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
All right, now we're in the second hour. How about that? This is the Barbecue Central Show. We talk about barbecue and grilling related fun stuff here. 216-220-0966. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com if you want to jump in tonight. More than happy to have you. You want to weigh in on the Danielle Bennett interview? Go ahead. Love to hear what you got to say. Oh, where'd my page go? Still to come tonight, Brett Gallaway from the Steak Cook-Off Association, the SCA. Mike Wozniak from QUAU. They just won their 75th Grand Championship. How about that? All right, I want to leave that up. Anyway, to close out there, I don't know, maybe other hosts don't or wouldn't, but I think it's unfair for me, knowing her as I do, to not ask the questions that I did. But I do see where others may decide to leave or make the double standard assumptions that she was talking about. So that's why I'm a host and others are not that good. 216-220-0966. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. The Sam's Club Barbecue Tour rolled into Las Vegas, Nevada this past weekend. This was the first regional final that feeds the top 10 teams into the Bentonville, Arkansas National Final a little bit later this year. The top 10 teams moving on. Grand champion with a 695.4. Sponsor of this show, Big Poppa Smokers and Sterling Ball. Whoa! I'm going to get back to Sterling Ball here in just 1 second. Reserve Grand Champion, Smokin' Moe's Barbecue with a 694.2, so pretty close. Third place, Hickory and Spice Barbecue. Fourth place, Iowa Smoky D's Barbecue. Fifth place, Joe Bob's Barbecue. Sixth place, Mad Dog's Barbecue. Seventh place, Pellet Envy. Eighth place, Rooftop Barbecue. Ninth place, Team America. And rounding out the top 10 and moving to Bentonville, Son of Smoke. Wow. I can sit here and tell you legitimately that more than half of that field advancing to Bentonville has a really good shot at winning the whole damn thing. Are you kidding me? Big Poppa Smokers, Iowa Smoky D's, Joe Bob's, Pellet Envy, and Rooftop Barbecue and Smokin' Moe's? What? That region is unbelievable. Those 10 finalists got to be some of the strongest region finals ever. That's a huge region that is being sent to Bentonville. Others are looking on with bated breath. Oof. That's going to be a tough. The next Sam's Club barbecue tour, again, will be this coming weekend, 4/23, in Overland Park, Kansas. Good luck to all those competing. Now, let me circle back to Big Poppa Smokers. And there's somebody else that's going to be involved in this as well. I've said it before, time and time again. You come on the show Tuesday, if you're going to compete, you can guarantee that you're going to win. Let us harken back to last week. Now, while he wasn't on my show, per se, I did record Sterling Ball talking about, which was then his second win in a row, in Wildemar for the AmazingRibs.com Pitcast show. And we talked about 2 in a row, and we talked about looking at 3, and does he consider 3 at all going into this weekend? And it's a Sam's Club Regional, and there was going to be a lot of good teams there and all this other stuff. And Sterling took the very methodical, measured, sports-type answer of, hey, I don't want to sound cliche, but it's one cook at a time. One cook, one weekend at a time. One event, one turn-in, one cook, boom. We're not looking for 3. I'm not expecting to win. It's almost insulting to say I expect to win given the crowd that's going to be there this past weekend at the regional final, all the stuff. He said all the right stuff. It doesn't negate the fact that he showed up, put in work on a recording, and then won out and won. He did it. I have the figures to prove it. So Sterling fetches his 3rd win in a row and really only missed a third, nice English, his 3rd plus 700 points overall finish in a row as well. Whew. Also, just for point of note, Fred Robles from Rio Valley showed up on this show last week, competed in a local event where he is in Texas, and won his 3rd in a row as well. I mean, I don't know. People call all the time. People email me all the time. You talk about this show, Karma, it never happens. How do you know it really happens? If you go back and listen to the interview from last week, when I was talking to Fred Robles, I said, Fred, where are you going to be at next week or this coming weekend? I'm going to be somewhere local and around my house. I said, hey, you're probably not too familiar with the show, but when you come on the show Tuesdays, if you compete that weekend, you win. So I'm not going to tell you you're going to win, but you're pretty much a lock. Sure enough, get an email Saturday night going, hey, I was just telling somebody on the awards that you told me I was going to win. Sure as shit, I won it. Of course. It's the show Karma. It always works. If Danielle is competing this coming weekend, guess what? She's going to get grand championship. It just happens. I don't know if she's going to be competing. We didn't get into that. But if she is, she knows she's a lock. It's fine. Also, remember that I mentioned last week for the Android users that the Barbecue Central show in podcast form while it does amazing things all over the iTunes, it's like the most popular way that folks listen to this show when they don't get it live, right? So Google Play has finally gone into the podcast foray and made a native podcast app. Now you don't have to get Beyond Pod or some third-party podcast catcher app. It's slowly kind of rolling out. So if you get the Google Play Music, it's not the Google Play App Store, but Google Play Music. And right now it is available through web portal service. But at some point soon, keep checking on your phones, you're going to be able to get podcasts, and then you can subscribe to the Barbecue Central show through your Android device natively, which is great. So what can I tell you? Downloads should be going up seismically for this show because finally Google Play Music has caught up with iTunes. I mean, what took so long? Do you just think podcasting was going to be like a fad and this wasn't really going to catch on? Come on. Oh, was it last week?
So I got another pork butt here.
All right, hold on a sec. This was like super popular. Let me blow it out and add my screen catch here. That's Danielle's book. So like, what is it, a week or two ago, where's this screen? There it is. I played you that secret competition video from Empire Barbecue, I think it is. Money Muscle Competition Trimming, Empire Technique. Yeah, so Empire Barbecue Team or whatever, and the guy made pork butt steaks. Well, he has gone ahead and given you another video. Here's a few clips here.
A okay-ish looking money muscle. It's pretty thick, got a good size, but I wanted to show another money muscle trimming technique I don't think a lot of folks know about. I'm not saying I came up with this method myself, but it is something that I think is pretty special and that's going to help a lot of people. And I call this the Empire or the Empire Strikes Back technique to be long. I think the cool kids are just going to call it the Empire technique though. And all this really revolves around is you got the money muscle. What you want to do is you want to take your knife and you want to cut straight back, dead into the middle of this sucker.
Wow.
Right? And you're just going to fillet it in half. You're going to open it up. So you got money muscle here. Look at that right there. And then you got money muscle here. Right? And then just like at the beginning of Empire, you get a bottle of sriracha and you pretend it's Luke Skywalker, and then you pretend that the pork butt is a tauntaun. You cut that sucker open like Han Solo, and then you just shove Luke in there to kind of rest and stay warm. Now, we're not seasoning with the sriracha.
No.
It's just kind of hanging out and giving just a nice curvature to it and also keeping it nice and safe. And then the final key to the Empire technique is you get a bottle of Jim Beam. You let it sit there staring at it, kind of in an awkward, weird, kind of like strange uncle way. And then the only thing that kind of caps it off is you totally have to rock Mickey Mouse Clubhouse for at least 2 versions of the song. Yeah, and you can even get some string and kind of tighten this up. But again, if you want to rock the Empire technique, I highly encourage giving it a try.
All right, so there's the Empire technique. Wow. I don't know which one would get you disqualified quicker, cutting out or doing the tauntaun technique. Tauntaun technique? I remember that, man. In Empire Strikes Back, that was like a beautiful yet scarring moment of my life. Seeing Han Solo cut the under end of that tauntaun and then shoving Luke in there. Ooh, squirmy guts. All right, gang, if you're like me, then you love the easy ways, the tried and true ways to step up the barbecue and grilling game. Butcher's Barbecue is your answer, folks. That's right. The rubs, the sauces, the grilling oils, the injections, and if you've bought somebody else's commercially made injection and realize that it's not what you were hoping for, I guess, then In the past, you've been stuck. Got to throw it out. Can't tell anybody the money you wasted on it. Ridicule from friends and neighbors. Not anymore. Go to butcherbbq.com. Go to the trade-in link up there at the top right of the navigation and click it. And then print off that label and send back with what you would like in replacement from Dave, your commercially made injection. Once it gets to Dave, he will weigh it. All weights are final by Dave. And then once that's done, he'll send you back the bird booster, or he'll send you back the brisket rub or the pork rub or whatever you want, because he's trying to make you happy. Not his customer, hoping to get you as a customer. That's why we say he makes his customers happy. He makes his competition customers happy as well. If you're looking for a great sauce, the sweet barbecue sauce pretty much wins in every category for me. If I'm not making my own, I'm always having 2 or 3 bottles of Butcher barbecue sauce on hand. And here's how I know it's good. I live in a house full of women. Very discerning, very finicky palates. They really like my barbecue sauce. If they like other barbecue sauces, then it has to be really good. Everybody loves Dave's, all the way down to little one Mar Baby. My wife likes it. Bob likes it. Mad likes it. Marley likes it. I love it. It's a winner. Get a box of 6. It's going to go fast. So here's what you do. You hit up butcherbbq.com. You look through all the products. The injections are tried and true. The grilling oils are phenomenal. I'm using them all the time, more and more. I use it in place of butter all the time. I did ribs this weekend. Used the grilling oil instead of the butter. It's great. And what do I say each and every time I talk about grilling oil? Doesn't have to be refrigerated. Keep it out on the table, over by the stove. That way you don't forget about using it. It's so handy. It tastes really good. 3 different flavors. Chipotle, steakhouse, butter flavor. Get on over to butcherbbq.com and get everything, and then thank me later. We're going to talk steak next. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Radio Network studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Radio Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the Barbecue Central show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all of your pellet-driven cookers. Visit Cookin Pellets, C-O-O-K-I-N, cookinpellets.com to purchase. You can also buy at Amazon.com. Download the Cookin Pellets app. It will alert you when Amazon has ridiculous shipping prices so you can save even more. Their blends are great, not voiding any warranties. Don't worry about any of that. Forget it. All right, one of the fastest growing segments right now in the competition world of food is barbecue, yes, but is also the Steak Cook-Off Association. And joining me now is Brett Gallaway. Brett, how are you, buddy? I'm doing absolutely great. I can't hear you at all. What's going on? Oh. That might be it.
All right, buddy. You there?
Yeah, I got you. All right. Sounded good. Brett, appreciate you joining me. So, big weekend this past weekend in regards to number of events. You had 4 big ones, right?
We did, yeah. We had 4 events this weekend. We were in Linden, Texas. We were in Fordyce, Arkansas, Wichita, Kansas, and then we had one in Hoofddorp, Netherlands.
So you literally won international this past week.
We were international, yes. We have a rep over there that runs those events. I'll get to go back in about 15 days. Not that I'm counting, but we're going to be at the Tony Stone Slow and Low over there.
How many events have you sanctioned off domestic land?
We had 3 events last year. This is the first this year. We expect 6 this year. 7, actually, if you count Canada.
All right, so before I delve a little bit more into the international stuff here, let's back out a little bit. For the folks that might have not heard our first interview a handful of months ago, Talk to me a little bit about Steak Cook-Off Association. By the way, the website steakcookoffs.com if you want to check it out here while we're talking. A little background about how it came to be, why you thought it needed to happen, and then we'll talk about some of the past events and upcoming events.
Okay. I was a competition cooker, and I started in cooking steak cook-offs, and I fell in love with it. It was very interactive with people. I'm an old restaurant manager, so I just like the interaction with people, and I thought I could cook great, and evidently I didn't cook as well as I thought I did back then. But we started picking it up. We started touring around. Back 3 years ago, there's only about 9 cook-offs in the country, and the rules were different everywhere we went. So we decided to let's go ahead and start something and see if we can't grow this a little bit. And we started with one event and thought we had great ideas, a little off on a couple of them, but the majority were improvements, and we went from there. And last year we had 17 events. 2 years ago, last year was 47 events, and this year will be 75 to 80, with 6 or 7 of those being in Europe. I just booked another one yesterday in the Netherlands, so it's growing.
Talk to me about how the competition actually takes place during the event.
Okay, they're one-day cook-offs usually. Sometimes we'll do a Friday night event like with a KCBS or an IBCA. It helps get people out of the motorhomes. They get around the grills. 3 to 5 more people go home happy because they got a check. They get the spirit of competing. And then our regular cook-off is normally a Saturday event. Generally, teams will set up between 8 and 10 in the morning. They'll have a cook's meeting at 10. We do a steak selection. In SCA, the steaks are provided by the promoter. That way, everybody's cooking the same steak. You don't have a guy that can only afford a select competing against a guy that has a Wagyu brisket out there. The guy has no chance. So all of our events use 16-ounce boneless ribeyes, choice and above. And so we'll do a steak selection. 1 o'clock, we turn in our ancillary category. Could be wings, burgers, margaritas. We've even done carne asada. But 3 o'clock's the main event. Steak is turned in. And then 4:30 or 5, we're doing awards. By 5:20, you're driving home. So it's a one-day event.
Brett Gallaway joining me here on the show. Steak Cook-Off Association. Again, the website steakcookoffs.com. Is there a guideline or a rule of finish temperature that the steaks have to go to, or are you getting a range of finish temps?
We ask them to cook at medium, which is a warm pink center. And I know most of us don't cook medium at home, but it's the easiest to judge against, that warm pink center. We have a picture that we show the cooks at the cooks meetings, and then we also show that picture to our judges at the judging table. So they both have the same reference of what goal they're going after.
When they cut into the steak, if it's not meeting that picture, are they DQ'd?
No. You grade it up or down points-wise on it, but we don't disqualify anybody on it.
Is there a potential to be disqualified for something during the cook?
We've only had a couple, and it's usually we had one disqualified because he used a metal pin to hold it together, and when we cut it in half, I know I guess his ribeye was curling off, but anyway, he got disqualified, and then we had to disqualify one guy because he was 5 minutes late turning in. But other than that, I don't want to ruin somebody's weekend over something, but unfortunately, some rules are rules.
So aside from providing the judges with a picture of kind of what they're looking for color-wise in the center, what else are they being trained? Do you have certified steak-eating judges like you would find at a KCBS or something like that?
We do, yeah. We started certified judges this year. We're still pretty new at it. We've probably got about 350 certified judges around the country. Probably got another 45 or 40 in Europe right now. When we go over there in 2 weeks, we'll do another class and teach a new crop over in Europe. And so far, Ken and I, the co-founder, we teach every class. So the guys are getting the same information in each judging class.
So talk to me about how you are teaching a judge to properly evaluate a steak, if it's something that should be on the winning side or something that isn't just there yet.
Okay, it's taste. I would never tell them what tastes great to them. I have no idea. So that one is we don't tell them anything other than it needs to taste like a steak. It needs to taste like beef. Okay, so taste we don't mess with. Texture, when they cut the steak, they feel texture. They actually cut their piece of the steak off, and then they taste the texture while they're chewing the steak, of course. Appearance, one of our big sponsors is Grill Grates, but a steak doesn't have to have grill marks to be a great scored steak. You've cooked a steak in a cast iron skillet, haven't you?
Sure.
Man, that beautiful caramelization, the 4 or 5 colors of brown on there, that can be just as eye-appealing as a steak with perfect grill marks. So if it has grill marks, it has to have pretty grill marks, but it doesn't have to. We had a guy get second place without any grill marks cooked in his cast iron skillet recently.
I guess high level here, when it comes to grill marks, is grill marks your garnish of a box like you would find in KCBS? Did you find that the majority of people are going to try and set a crosshatch on a steak because it's eye appealing, and people, even though it shouldn't count against you, people might think, well, if I don't, it probably might count against me more than it won't? I mean, what's your thought there?
9 out of 10 teams probably use grill grates out there. So, yeah, they do. You eat with your eyes, and you see that beautiful grill marks on there, and it can't help but affect you on it. But if the grill marks aren't pretty, they're going to get marked down. But I'd go after just as much after that cast iron skillet steak, personally.
In regards to the cooker, does it have to be a charcoal-fired cooker or a wood-fired cooker, or can it be like an electric or a gas grill, or what do you have to use?
You can cook on anything. We let them use a gas grill. 87% of the country has some sort of grill in their backyard. It's a 6 to 8 minute cook time usually. So, you can use a gas grill. Most of the time when they do come out with a gas grill, you'll see them the following week because they had so much fun, but they have a Weber or a PK grill with them. So you can use gas. I've had guys cook on a pellet cooker. Guy got 7th place with a pellet cooker last weekend in Wichita.
In regards to steaks that you see winning, I mean, you're in your 3rd year now. Have you seen a dramatic difference in how people are cooking and seasonings that they're using, or if you want to throw out the lame term, flavor profiles? Do you see a large change from where you started to where we're at today?
I don't cook anymore I won't cook in my own organization, but a lot of the steaks that are turned in look a lot like mine. I mean, it looks like they're cooking them hot and fast. I see some guys that are doing a reverse sear, but generally a lot of guys are hot and fast guys in SCA.
Is there like standard finishing, or do you see a lot of people going for any type of a glaze or a butter finishing sauce as you start to turn it?
I see guys putting butter on it. Yeah, we'll see that happen. You're not allowed to put a sauce on it, but they can put a butter. Every now and then you'll see some guy that thinks Italian dressing's a great idea. Not so much. Really, it kills the appearance of steak. But, every now and then somebody will put a pepper jelly or something over the top of it and bake it on. But generally, it's a little butter and that's it.
So, in regards to cost for teams, well, a lot of us that are listeners of this show are familiar with barbecue competitions. It's let's say $250 to $300, maybe $400 for an entry fee. What's the cost or the expense to do a steak cook-off?
To enter a steak cook-off, generally most of our events are $150 entry fee, and that includes your 2 ribeye steaks. So it's $150 to get in. Generally, first place is $1,000, and it usually pays between 5 and 10 places.
You had talked earlier about trying to get into a KCBS event or an IBCA like on a Friday and kind of making 2 competitions in a weekend, if you will, as you've been mentioned, giving yourself a shot at winning some extra money depending on how good your steak is and how good your barbecue is going to be. Are you trying to negotiate or have open dialogue with the different barbecue sanctioning bodies saying, hey, we're steak cook-off. We feel that this is kind of a really good tie-in to what you guys are doing, and it's not going to take away from the Saturday stuff. You can value add this on Friday as potentially more money. And are you getting any pushback from being kind of incorporated or associated with any of those guys?
No, we've talked to some of them about it and really haven't come up with much. We're actually pretty close with one organization to having something set up to where it may be offered in every one of their events. But we haven't done anything for sure yet. But it really does enhance. They enhance each other. I got started cooking barbecue because I was a steak cooker, and I just loved competing, and I'd cook steak, and then I decided to try barbecue one day. You know, it's a lot more cost in barbecue equipment-wise.
Brett Gallaway joining me here on the show from Steak Cook-Off Associations, and the website again, steakcookoffs.com. Do you have any direct tie-ins with the World Food Championships?
No, we don't have any direct tie-ins with them on it. We did talk to Mike about maybe helping him with the judging on that, but he has his own system that works great, and we wish him all the luck out there. I actually went down there last year, just hung out.
Do you feel that there's room? So you have like a final event at the end of the year where all the winners, like what is that called?
It's our SCA World Steak Championship.
All right, so a winner is determined at the end of that. Shouldn't that person have the opportunity to then bid into the World Food Championships as a steak cook?
World Food Championships is 3 weeks before our championship.
Oh,
yeah.
Time to move up the schedule, Brett. Right?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think our championship's just as great as that championship. It's the largest paying steak cook-off in the country. We pay out $7,500 for first place. We pay top 10. I mean, you're cooking a 6 to 8 minute steak. That was last year. This year's entry might go up a little bit, the payout. But we have the winner of every steak cook-off, every SCA cook-off in the United States and Europe. And so we had teams from Europe last year as well, 75 teams, and every one of them a winner. So we're putting the best against the best in the country.
It almost seems like barbecue seems to be so, I don't want to say the same, but it's hard for people to win, right? I mean, you got to find the right profile. You got to be at the right tenderness. Steak almost seems to take the barbecue aspect and tighten it down almost to like a whole new level. So what do you think really separates the really good steak cooks from the guys that aren't able to push over the top?
The fine line is you got to get the doneness right. If you get the doneness right, if it's a perfect medium, it's going to be, the cutting of it is easier. If you're way underdone, you're going to get nailed on texture because it's not going to cut as easy. It affects the flavor. It affects the appearance. And so just by looking at the numbers, when they hit doneness, everything else seems to fall in place.
When the judges are evaluating the steak, do they put a piece in and chew, like, so I don't want to make this about the wine world, but when you're evaluating wine, if you're doing it the right way, you take a sip, you swirl around, you spit it out. Do they do the same thing with the steak, or are they eating?
They're going to chew that steak, and they'll actually cut the piece off, put it in their mouth, they'll chew on it, they'll taste the flavor, and then they're going to eat the steak. In the old days, they didn't have to. In the old days, it was 5 judges for 80-some teams back when I was cooking, and you better cook a great cold steak. Now with SCA, it's not that way. When you're tasting texture in SCA, you're cutting it, you're chewing it, you're going to get a better judging on it. And it's quick. I mean, we did 122 teams at the championship, and every steak was judged hot and fresh. Not 122, 76, sorry.
So when you are cooking it, because in the barbecue world, a lot of pitmasters will tell me, I'm like, well, when do you taste it? You taste it right after. Then they're like, no, we turn it in, we'll wait 15 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and taste it, because we feel that's the point at what time the judges are doing it, so we can really evaluate where our profile and our tenderness is. But not the case with you guys anymore. Don't cook and see where your good tasting cold steak is. If you make a good hot steak, chances are you're going to be judged on a good hot steak.
That's correct. If you take it off, put it in the box and walk it up there, turn it in, it'll be judged within minutes. So it's quick. So that resting time, everybody wants that 10-minute rest time, and the steak continues to cook. So that's half the battle, is knowing it's going to continue to cook. So you want to try to hit a certain temperature and let it rise up by the time it hits the judge table.
Brett, Sylvie in the chat room has just asked a great question, and sure. Let me ask you about it. So you're cooking 16-ounce boneless ribeyes.
Correct.
Do you require the judges to cut from the two different pieces of the ribeye, like the middle part and then the cap on the outside? Or if not, where do you see the judges going to cut from most?
Okay, we actually cut the steak in half, so the back piece is for appearance, and they'll look at doneness at the center of the steak. The front part is where the spinalis is, the lip of the steak, and that's where they cut their piece of the steak. So they're all eating it up or taking a bite off the tenderest part of the steak. I mean, we got cookers that'll cut that off, which is a disadvantage to them, but sometimes they'll do it.
So do you think that the middle part of the steak is all jealous that the spinalis is the one that's being tasted? Because I mean that's like the best part, of course.
Yeah, it might be, but I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah. Steaks don't talk is what you're supposed to say. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. So, but I mean that's the part that's being judged for the doneness portion of it. So
that's correct.
You said that you did see a high finish for a pellet cooker. Do you see pellet cookers down the road becoming more of a force? I mean, look, let's be honest. A lot of pellet cookers aren't probably giving you, even 500 degrees, let alone 700, 800, 900 degrees. But some of them are pressing up, like the Yoders have a pretty good ability to ramp up temperatures. Do you see them becoming more of a force as time wears on here, or maybe not so much for this thing?
I think so. I was at Yoder. That's where we did our cook-off in Wichita at All Things Barbecue, and they cooked some steaks for our class. I ran a class there, and they cooked some on a Yoder that had unbelievable char on it. I questioned him. I said, that was cooked on the Yoder? He said it was. I mean, it had great char. So I think I could see somebody winning on a Yoder for sure.
Aside from the ribeye, is there any consideration given to porterhouse or T-bone, or is the ribeye just kind of the old standby?
The ribeye was the one we use for every SCA event. We've never cooked anything else actually in our events.
And where's the next event going to be at, Brett?
Oh Lord, hold on, where are we at? This weekend I'm in El Dorado, Arkansas. I'll be running that event, and then that's on Saturday, and then we have a Sunday event at the RAR Brewery in Fort Worth, Texas. And the team's there. They've got live music. I heard Pat Green's going to be one of the judges there. He may get up and sing a song or two. Country singer, I don't know if you know. But anyway, got 2 events this weekend, 3 events the following weekend, and then we're off to Europe.
All right, so Brett Gallaway is with the Steak Cook-Off Association. The website, steakcookoffs.com. If you want to get down with some meat, check out the website, see where the nearest event is to you, and then go ahead and try your hand. Brett, always appreciate the time, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, buddy. Appreciate it.
You got
Take
it.
Care.
There he is, Brett Gallaway from the SCA. Who wants to get down with steak right now? Sylvie, great question. Wow. I'm embarrassed that I didn't think of it myself, but let me be honest, I never would have thought of that. Never. That's why you're Lady of Q, and I'm hosting a show in my basement. It's all right. One day it's going to be my day. Not this day, though. Cook Shack manufactures smoker ovens for barbecue lovers with any amount of experience. Whether you barbecue in the backyard, you're on the competition scene, or in a 5-star dining facility, Cook Shack has the unit that will do the job. And with a full line of barbecue sauces, spices, pellets, wood chunks, it's a perfect one-stop shop. Cook Shack strives to be your barbecue resource center by offering cooking classes, online recipes, how-to videos, 2 blogs, Smoke and Grilling 101s, and a video cooking classroom. Check out their website at cookshack.com or follow them on the Instagrams, YouTube, Pinterest, Twitter, Google+. Get advice or share your passion for barbecue on the world-class barbecue forum. Cook Shack pellet-fired smokers are the choice of champs because they are designed by a champion. Ed Fast Eddie Morin. The FEC 100, the PG 1000 are always customer favorites. The PG 1000 can double as a smoker and grill, low and slow or hot and fast. The pellet grill line gives you the most for your money. Cook Shack residential electric smokers are the #1 smoker in the industry. High-quality meat, high durability, high versatility. Anything you can cook in an oven, you can make in a Cook Shack. Passion, dedication drives Cook Shack's manufacturing, with quality always being at the forefront. Giving you the best in barbecue since 1962. 800-423-0698. That's 800-423-0698. Or again, visit the website at cookshack.com. QUAU out of the chute. Here we go.
Get in the smoke. Call 877-448-0433 to get on the air. Now, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back to 16220-0966. Greg at the BBQCentralShow.com. Thanks again to Brett Gallaway from the Steak Cook-Off Association for joining me last segment. Helping me close the show tonight. In my opinion, a team that has been competing at the highest levels pretty much since the get-go. So much so, they earned their 75th Grand Championship this past weekend. We head over to the hotline and welcome back Pitmaster of QUAU, Mike Wozniak. Mike, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great.
75, Mike.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. When we hit 50, I thought seriously that it'd be about time to retire from this crazy sport.
What happened?
Just kept going.
So let's roll all the way back. When did you get into competition barbecue, Mike?
Our first competition was a local rib fest here in Peoria, Illinois. And we cooked our ribs on a rack in a pressure cooker, and then we grilled them off on a gas grill. And you could cook them any way you wanted. It was just a local thing. And then we did another one, and we met Mike Lake. And Mike told us all about KCBS. He told us about chicken and ribs and pork butts and beef brisket. And I had no idea what a pork butt was, or the only brisket I'd ever had was corned beef. So he talked us into taking the judging class, and we started cooking KCBS in 2001.
Fast forward 14 years, did you think after you were judges and you started getting into the whole KCBS competition side of things that you would be doing it at any level 14 years later, 15 years later?
Not really. I'm a real competitive person. I raced motorcycles for 11 years. And then when I got my hip busted real bad in an industrial accident, that ended that career. And barbecue's a lot safer than racing motorcycles also. But we still enjoy it. I mean, we enjoy going. Towards the end of the season, it gets to be kind of a grind and everything. In our schedule, we start a little bit later. We used to start always in January down at Lakeland, and we didn't start till the end of March this year, and we took a couple weeks off here. And so we're going to have a week off here and there. We're not going to go and do like 45 in a row like we have been doing.
When you were out really getting after it and being in Team of the Year contention, winning Team of the Year, by the end, as you had said, was it always like, oh my God, I can't believe it's the end of November or whatever, and we're still doing this, and we're not going to do it again next year, and then you have the time off, and you're like, yeah, let's just bust ass and get after it again. When you're away from it, is it easy to forget the grind that it was while you're in it?
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. The year we won Team of the Year, 2010, we had a good year. We won the Jack that year, and we won the Kingsford Points Chase thing. And we qualified, of course, to go to the Houston Livestock. And, we thought about it, and we had cooked till December. And then Houston was in February. And we thought, we said, you know what, I just want to stay home. So we politely declined. And now, in retrospect, I wish I had done it because we may never get another chance. We've come close, by finishing second at the Royal. But it's one of those things you never get a chance to do, and I wish we had done it. But, that year, it was a grind because we drove from coast. I mean, we literally cooked on the East Coast there in the Jersey Shore. And then we cooked in California, we cooked in Minnesota, we cooked down in Texas. We're all over the country, and I think we drove 45,000 miles that year. And by the time December rolled around, we were just burnt out.
Mike Wozniak joining me from QUAU. Mike, in 2008 and 9 and 10, when you were going across the land, as you were just describing, was it also different flavor profiles or flavors that judges seem to be valuing as winning in different locations? Or at that point, had it gotten a little bit more accepted to be the same whether you're in California or whether you're in New England or Florida or Texas?
Well, I never have figured California out. We've cooked there about 3 or 4 times and never have really done very well. But we were talking about this the other day, and we won our first GC in 2001. If I turned that quality of product in at a contest today, it would be near the bottom. I don't know if the flavor profiles are a hell of a lot different. We pretty much have been using the same sauce and the same rubs, since 2004, 2005. What we have improved on is our cooking technique. Chicken, we've tried different things, and we've won Chicken Team of the Year a couple times. We've been second, I think, 4 or 5 times. I never have really, picked up on the butter bath thing. That's real big now. And we've gone back and we're doing rotisserie thighs again. And I'm always been real happy with them because you get the nice clear juices that run in them. And then ribs, since 2008, we've been doing baby backs and pork. We don't do anything special there. We do a real neat presentation. And brisket, we've basically been doing the same brisket since 2004. And it's done the same rub. We got it out of a book sometime back then, and we just use the same rub. It's real simple, just paprika, salt, and like garlic powder and onion powder. No sugar. Is
the brisket the Wagyu stuff, or have you not really gotten ever into that?
No, we switched to Wagyu in, let me think, 2011, I believe. And the first Wagyu brisket I ever cooked was the best brisket I had cooked up to that point. And we had used the choice grade up until then, and we never looked back. And I've got, I think, 6 big freezers out. I wish I had bought a walk-in freezer, the amount of money I've spent on freezers, but I just buy them in bulk so I can get them a lot cheaper. Instead of paying $10 a pound, I get them for usually somewhere around $6.50 to $7 a pound. And I got a flash freeze. You don't realize the money you keep spending on this sport. So I got a flash freezer, and those aren't cheap. And so you flash freeze stuff. So the idea is to get it down to 0 at the core, so you're not damaging all the water molecules in the meat. And when you thaw them out, they pretty much look just exactly like when you froze them.
Do you have any type of special thaw process? You just throw them in a refrigerator and let them come up that way?
Yeah, I find that's the best way to do it is throw. When we leave for a contest, we're gonna head up to the Masters in May, which is in Appleton, Wisconsin. We're gonna leave Thursday, and I'll get a brisket out for the next week, which we're doing one in Dwight, Illinois. It's only about 70 miles from our house, but I'll get it out. And we've got a real cold refrigerator, and by the time Tuesday of the next week rolls around, it's pretty well thawed out. Thaws out real slow.
Mike, in regards to, looking back at 2001 when you started and where you guys are at today, what do you think the biggest evolution or change in competition barbecue has been?
Well, I'll be absolutely honest with you. I think the judging has changed the most. When we started, there was about 80 contests a year throughout the country. We cooked a lot down south because that's where the contests were. Now, down there at that time, a lot of the judges were certified also in Memphis and May and KCBS, and they had been. So you had a lot of really experienced judges. And then what I think happened is once this got big on television, you saw a lot of people thought, wow, I'd like to be like Tuffy or Myron and judge barbecue. And, of course, that's not the reason they're judging on television. It's because they're, damn good cooks. And I think a lot of people got into it, and there's a lot of new people. And it takes a while to really learn to be a good judge. I mean, they eventually get there, but, at first, you have to learn to judge meat. And the only way you can do that is by doing it over and over, and then, the judges discuss things amongst themselves. And we've noticed that in areas where they have a lot of, newer judges, sometimes the scoring is a little bit, it's not consistent, in other words. But then once they, you get an area and they have enough contests and that the judges can go ahead and judge over and over, the scoring comes up. And you'll notice that with the size of the grand champion points. One time we were in a state, and I won't mention it, but the GC was like a 628, which is that's unheard of. That's like the bottom of the pack now.
Yeah.
And I think really now you see most of the time GC, most of the time around the country will be somewhere around 685 to 700.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it fairly consistent.
Mike Wozniak joining me here on the show, pitmaster of QUAU. Mike, for people just getting into competition barbecue, is the advice to judge 3 or 4 events first and see where the flavors are and see what's winning before you decide what you want to do as a team?
Yeah, I would do that. We took the judging class first. We never did really judge. Off and on I judged here and there. But we never really were judges and went out and actually, signed up our KCBS contest to judge. But that's probably the best advice. It's also the cheapest. I used to teach a cooking class with Scotty Johnson for his party. And I was told him, I said, listen, my advice to you is become a judge. It's a lot cheaper. And I said, if you want to be a cook, I said, just need to go out and buy the biggest motorhome or the biggest trailer you'll think you'll ever need because you will get there eventually. And, we learned that. We went through 3 motorhomes, and I think we're on our 3rd enclosed trailer, and we had some other open trailers when we first started. In fact, we just sold our liner 45-footer. We sold it to Donnie Bray of Warren County Choppers. And when he was getting ready to leave with the motorhome, he goes, yeah, now I've got to sell my trailer. And I'm going, well, describe it to us. And so we ended up buying his trailer.
I mean, do you have to have those toys to really be out on the circuit these days, do you think?
It makes it a lot easier. We've got the trailer now. It's a 40-footer, and it's got a deep south in the back, and it's plumbed out through the ceiling. And I never have to leave the trailer, basically. I can do all my cooking right in there. It's got air conditioning in the back and everything. Now, you get someone like Parrot Head. He cooks out of a big, heavy-duty Easy Up tent every weekend. But I'm at the point, my meniscus is gone in my knee, so I've got to get that taken care of one of these days. I'm getting cortisone shots now, so it's hard for me to go up and down steps. So I've worn my knee out from barbecue, probably, like going up and down the motorhome and the other trailers. So it just depends what you want, but it's a lot easier when you have a nice trailer and you're comfortable.
Mike, you and Beth secure 75 this past weekend. You have the opportunity for 6 and 7 going up to Appleton because it's a 2-day competition that Tim Shaw puts on up there. Do you foresee staying in it to shoot for 100? Hello. Hello. Go.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Cell phones, man. The devil. Or he didn't want to answer that. I know where you're going with that. I'm out. See if he jumps back on. Probably going to get voicemail now. We'll see. It's the last question. Right?
Yeah, I'm back.
Hey, Mike. Sorry about that. So, do you foresee staying in it to get to 100, or is that not even like on the radar?
Greg, I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say you and Beth pulled down 75 this past weekend. You're going to go up to Appleton. You have the opportunity to get numbers 76 and 77 since it's a 2-day event that Tim Shaw puts on up there. Long term on a high level, do you want to stay until you you at least get a good hard look at 100, or is that not even on the radar for you guys?
Well, our next goal, 71 of those 75 are KCBS sanctioned events. So 4 of them were, 2 of them were the best of the best invitational in Douglas, Georgia, that the Barbecue News used to put on.
Yep.
And then we won the Open down there, and then the other one was the Chicago Winter Burn, which it wasn't sanctioned, but it was a qualifier. So our next goal would be to get 75 KCBS contests under our belt. I'm not sure anybody else has that many. I know there's a few of them that are close. Darren Worth, I think, has 60-something. Rod Gray, it's either in the high 50s or low 60s. Johnny Trigg, I'm not sure. Last I heard, he was in the 50s. And then Parrott had got 50 here, I think last year.
Yep.
So, I think Mike
Davis
from Lauderdale, yeah, I think they're in their 50s or maybe 60s. Mike Davis.
So you're like
maybe someone. I apologize if I am, but I know we're near the top there.
I was gonna say, so you got to be like you got to be the winningest, one of the winningest teams in KCBS in the history, then.
Yeah, and I mean we have some other like we were the first team to have a perfect season. 2006, they only counted your top 5, and the maximum points was at a contest with 50 or more teams, and we had 5 of those in by the early part of August. And then they, KCBS instituted a tiebreaker, and the tie went all the way up to 9 places. And at the 10th place, I think Mike Davis beat me by 1 point for the tiebreaker. And then, like at the Jack, I think we may be the only team that have won a trophy. You only pay 5 places. We've won a trophy in every category, at least one. And it's funny, the last one that we needed was sauce. And we finally got that in 2014.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, is there one that just stands out above and beyond all the rest? Is it the Jack?
Yeah, it'd have to be the Jack because you know what? It was really emotional to win that. We won a lot, and the wife was crying, and I was pretty emotional about it. It's just. There's something, and I don't know how to describe it. It's a contest that the cooks really put a lot of emphasis on. And if you look at it the other way, there's a lot of celebrity judges there and stuff like that. So you really have to cook well, but you really have to get lucky. You have to hit, 2 or 3 really good tables. And so there's a lot of luck involved. Just getting there, some of the best cooks, hardly ever get there because of where they live, where they cook all the time. If you live in a state like Kansas or Oklahoma or Missouri, it's hard to get there unless you're going to win 7 all the time, and that's not easy.
Mike Wozniak is the pitmaster of QUAU. They just won their 75th Grand Championship. Started in 2001, and here they are 15 years later with number 75, looking to get their 75th KCBS here shortly as well. Mike, always appreciate the time, man. Continued success, and we'll talk again soon.
Okay, thank you very much.
You got it.
Bye.
There he is, Mike Wozniak, QUAU, 75th. Does anybody else remember Best of the Best by National Barbecue News? Does anybody remember that? That was like a really big deal back in the day. Won it twice. I thought that was going to be... That's right when I had started getting into podcast. Wait, is that right? I might have been in for a couple years before that, but I remember talking to Cal Phelps and National Barbecue News and Best of the Best, Douglas, Georgia, and this is going to take the Jack winner and the American Royal winners, and this is going to be really where in different scoring systems, fair for everybody. Let's go.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Hey, it happens. All right, let's wrap it up. All the way back in the first hour, we talked with Danielle Bennett, Diva Q, DivaQ.ca is her website. The book is out. Diva Q's. #1 right now in the new release for Amazon.com. Last week it was #1 on pre-release sales, doing very well. If you don't like shopping online, you can get it at any bookstore. Diva Q's, 195 recipes. A reference guide, if you will, to keep going back to real food, real barbecue. Get it, love it. In the second hour, we talked with Brett Gallaway from the State Cook-Off Association. And we finished it up with Mike Wozniak from QUAU, the winningest man in KCBS. How about that? That's how we end the show. That's right. We got a show that is locked and loaded already for next week, but no names, please, as of yet. But we might be talking about another new book with somebody that's associated with a pretty big grill company. Plus, it's the first Tuesday of the week next week, or of the month next week, so you know who's going to be coming in to give us a checkup from the neck up when it comes to the barbecue and grilling stuff, Ray Lampy. September 11th, 2001, I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.